Hey everyone, let's get real here. I'm not a developer by trade. I'm into infrastructure and operation stuff. Like many IT pro folks out there, I rely on PowerShell to handle deployment, automation routines, and all that stuff. Today, I want to talk to you about Github Copilot. It's an AI pair coder that can seriously help your PowerShell coding. It'll help you write code faster and with less effort. Plus, along the way, you're likely to pick up some new skills. Now, if you're new to GitHub Copilot, check out my colleague's video on how you can get started with GitHub Copilot. In this video, we'll explore how Copilot can assist you in your PowerShell coding. It'll offer live coding suggestions and prompt/comment-based suggestions. It's like having a coding buddy right there by your side. Let's dive right into it and see what GitHub Copilot can do for us. As I mentioned, GitHub Copilot can assist your PowerShell coding in many ways. One of the ways is live coding. The other is by writing comments in your script that GitHub Copilot can take context from and suggest solutions. Now, the context that it takes can come from the code that's already in there, open files that are in VS Code, also from the title or the name of the file or the script that I'm writing. In this case, 1.1 example shutdown vm.ps1. If I go to my line 6 and go to the end of the line, GitHub automatically suggests that I need to set context, and that is proper, so I'm going to accept that suggestion. As I enter, and I will start putting a comment telling it that I need to list all of the VMs, their tags in my subscriptions that are currently powered on, and store that in a variable. And it does give me a suggestion. However, that suggestion is not quite right. So I can go to the command, adjust my command, and then accept the rest of the suggestion. Now, GitHub Copilot will anticipate what my next move should be, and taking context from the file name and what's already in the script will suggest what my next iteration should be. So in this case, to loop through each VM and shut them down, which is exactly what I'm trying to do. But instead of hitting enter, I will hit Control Enter, have a second pane in my VS Code where GitHub Copilot will synthesize up to 10 suggestions, so I can review them and take the one that I feel is more appropriate for what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to accept that suggestion. It's going to insert the code, and in that way I'm going to review it and edit it and change what I need to do. So in this case, I'm going to check what the tags are for that VM in each loop. That's proper. I'll accept that suggestion. And on the next line, I'm also going to ask it to validate that the VM that I'm shutting down are only the VMs with a tag with a value of non-persistent. And it does give me a nice suggestion. And as you can see, when I hover over the gray text or the GitHub Copilot suggestion, there's a little pop-up at the top that allows me to either go through all of the suggestions if there are more than one, to accept it, or to accept just one word at a time. Now, I don't need line 22 and 23 anymore, but it automatically suggests that if I have an if statement, I should have an else statement. So I've accepted that and go on. Now, reviewing my code, I can see that the stop AZVM is not quite right. I am missing a parameter. So I'm going to go there and insert the resource group name and the variable in that command. Once I've included that, I can test my code. So I'm going to hit F5 to execute my code. And as it's running, you can see that it's now shutting down VM1, now shutting down VM2. While this is going, I'm going to go to my Azure portal, refresh, and see that I have a couple of machines that have a lifecycle tag equal persistent. So these should not be touched. And as this is going, I'm going to go back to my script and it's continuing. And now, as you can tell, VM Live Demo 1 and VM Learn Live VM 01 were not shut down because they were tagged as persistent. Could I have written this by myself? Absolutely. Did Copilot help me do it in a much faster way? Absolutely. To conclude our demo, I want to talk about the shell, because the shell is a powerful place, and it's one that many sysadmins like me spend their days in. But it can take many years of regular use to become a shell wizard, to remember every command and tricks. Even with a solid proficiency, most of us regularly need to use the get-help command or scroll through pages of documentation. Oftentimes, we just simply end up doing a web search and hopefully finding something that is a relevant answer. Github Copilot CLI will allow us to avoid that search and simply ask, how do I do X? How do I list all the PowerShell files? How do I list all of the VMs in the terminal interface? All you need is to use one of the 3 shell commands provided by Github Copilot CLI, $?, git ? And gh ? And ask the question. Copilot will return the command and wait for you to confirm before running it. Well, that's all I had for you today. And remember, there might be time when GitHub Copilot isn't as helpful as you'd expect. Maybe the context is unclear, or maybe your solution requires a fresh and new, a unique approach. However, there are many situations where Copilot can truly be your productive pair programmer, especially when you provide it with that extra guidance or context. Just remember, when you're using Copilot or writing code on your own, always test it thoroughly. If you found this video helpful, I'd really appreciate if you could hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to smash that bell to stay updated with new content. Also, make sure to check out the rest of the videos in this series. Catch you later.